V3 is an incredible milestone, and you should really give yourself a pat on the back if you haven't already. Congratulations. Now that you're at V3's, maybe flashing V3's, you may be wondering, why is it so hard for me to climb V4's? Or why is it impossible to climb V5's? There's a big difference between V3's and V4's. And some of that is technique, but some of that technique requires additional strength and flexibility that you may not have developed yet, or you may not be aware of how to use those techniques. If you're not familiar with what techniques I'm referring to, then check out this video, as I'm going to be going through the top 3 techniques that will help you get from the V3 to a V4. And some of these do include a little bit more strength, so I'll also walk you through how to overcome that challenge as well. Without further ado, let's get started with technique number 1, and that's called lock-offs. Lock-offs is a technique where you bend your arm so it's in a locked off position where your wrist is close to your shoulder instead of the straight arms like we've been pounding into your head up to this point. And it allows you to give a little bit of extra height so you can use your other hand to get to the next hold. It's a little bit more dynamic than most other techniques, and it typically uses your feet pushing off in the opposite direction to get you into that position. Now, a common challenge when it comes to this technique is a lot of people feel like, oh, if you need to be able to pull your body up with one arm, isn't that the same as a one-arm pull-up? And I can't even do a regular pull-up, so how could I do a one-arm pull-up? I felt the same way when I first started working on lock-offs. In fact, I thought the best training to do was pull-ups, and this just isn't true. A lock-off has multiple points of contact on the wall. So unlike a one-arm pull-up where you have your body dangling below a bar, a lock-off has your feet on the wall, your other hand as well, and you can use your entire body to pull your body into that position, and then you only have to hold it in that position for a moment while your feet are still supporting you while you go up for the next hand. This means that you don't have to do pull-up training to get good at lock-offs. In fact, what I recommend for getting good at lock-offs is what I call a lock-off drill. You're going to find a route that's relatively easy, and you're going to lock off every time before you move your hands to the next hold. So you lock off, move your hand, move your feet, lock off, move your hand, move your feet, and so on. What you'll find is the more you do this, the more you'll be used to using your legs to push you into that lock-off position, and the more likely you are to be able to build that pulling strength in a much more enjoyable way than a pull-up training session. It's actually pretty fun, but it kicks your butt. Start off just doing one route with this lock-off drill, take a 5-minute break, repeat 3 times. Once you get stronger, you can start adding routes. So maybe instead of 1 route, you do 2 routes and then a 5-minute break. And you work your way up to 3 routes with 5-minute break in between, and you repeat that 3 times. This is a crazy hard workout, and your shoulders are gonna get pumped and you're gonna feel amazing. Definitely staring in the mirror at the back of your shoulders when you're done with this drill, trust me. Now that you're feeling good with lock-offs, let's go into the next one, which is called high feet. Now, high feet is a technique where you put your feet on a higher hold, and then you use that foothold to push your body up into the wall, up to the next hold. This is actually a really challenging technique for me, and I have not mastered it yet. In fact, I've spent significant amount of time practicing my stretching, because a common challenge with high feet is you need to have good hip flexibility. And in my case, I also have really tight hamstrings, and that prevents me from being able to put my body in that tight situation. Plus, if you're tall like me and you have lengthy legs, then when you put your feet up high, it puts your hips really far away from the wall. So engaging your core and getting up to that next hold, you're just as far away from the hold as you were before. And as you can see with this climb, because I can't get my foot up on that hold, I literally can't finish the climb. So this is a great example of where getting your hip flexibility open will be a really great benefit. A few weeks ago, I was on top of my game. I was opening up my hips every single day. I was doing stretches, pigeon pose. I was doing sideways lunges, and all of this made it so that I could do higher feet. And compared to last year, I can do significantly higher feet, but I'm still learning. I'm still getting to the point where I can actually do high feet. This isn't something, as you can see, it's not something that's going to prevent you from doing V4s, but it is something that I found prevents me from doing a lot of beta that I wish I could do, and I have to fandangle different ways of getting up the climb because my legs are too tight and my glutes are too tight for me to be able to put my body in that situation. Now, another thing with this one, just a quick tip on here, is a lot of people just put their foot against the wall, like put their toes against the wall because you use your toes on climbing holds. Well, when you get to a point, you'll notice that the professionals, they typically put their heel and foot against the wall, so it opens up their hip a little bit more and it makes it so that their hips can be right next to the hole. Now with this next technique, it is a little bit more complicated. It seems simple on the surface, but the more you climb, the more you recognize it's actually got a lot to do with improving your climbing. And that technique is called rooting. Essentially, rooting is a way of moving your body while keeping it tight so it's not swinging around. For example, you place a foot out to the side. Rooting would be that controlled manner of putting your hips and the rest of your body towards that side. So pulling your body in towards that right foot, for example. Many climbers find it really difficult to pull their bodies sideways, and I actually made an entire video about moving sideways on the rock because it can be difficult, but the biggest thing that you need to focus on when it comes to learning rooting is to engage your hips, engage your hamstrings, engage your core. At the same time, you're not just pulling, you're also pushing with the other side of your body. Whether or not you have a foothold, you can smear that foot and kind of push into it. Whatever you do, just try and be as mindful as possible while you're climbing. And this is going to open up the doors for V4s, and it will make it a lot easier. V5s are practically impossible without knowing this technique. So by focusing on it now that you have V3s down, you're definitely going to benefit from this technique over a long period of time. And those V3s are going to become a lot easier. Now that you've learned all of these 3 techniques, go and apply them to your climbing routes. Whether or not it's clear or obvious, maybe just practicing it, trying it out on a few different routes, you'll find that you can use them a lot more often than you think you can. And it will open up different beta options. Like those high feet that I said, you could do fandangling up the wall like a chimney, or you could do one high foot if you have that capability. So definitely try these out and come back here in the comments. How did it go? What challenges did you find? And what do you wish I had included in this video? If this video brought value to you, please give it a thumbs up. That not only helps me, but it also helps YouTube know what kind of videos you like. So other YouTubers that are providing how-to tips on climbing, they'll start feeding you those videos as well. So the like helps me and it helps you. Thanks again for watching and enjoy climbing.